This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
All right, welcome back, class. Today is our first episode recorded in 2025. And today we discuss the news with a special guest, the host of the Heroic Headspace Podcast, Mitch Medina. Together, we are going to argue about DC news, Disney characters dunking, and the current state of Star Wars. All this and more in a Fandalorians Heroic Headspace crossover, dunking deep into Disney, DC, and Star Wars episode of the Fandalorians. Teachers by day. Let me do the last sentence.
Just keep it in. Just keep it in. It's nature.
No, but then people will know I have weaknesses.
That stinks.
All this and more in a Fandalorians Heroic Headspace crossover, dunking deep into DC, Disney, and Star Wars episode of the Fandalorians. Teachers by day, nerds by night.
That is the bell. Class is in session. Welcome to the Fandalorians podcast.
Mr. Richardson, you sound amazing.
What? I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to the mic. I promise you. Teachers by day, nerds by night. We are the #1 public school teacher pop culture fandom podcast in the country. Every week, we bring you all the latest entertainment news and lively debates and discussions with a fun teacher twist. And we're a proud members of the Unfiltered Studios podcasting network. Listen, lifelong friendships, plenty of banter, good-natured trash talk along the way. It's good to be back. It's good to see you guys again. Email us at thefandaloriansmailbag@gmail.com and text us at 631-494-3632. We get new listeners all the time, especially when we have a guest. Allow me to introduce ourselves. My name is Mr. Richardson, 4th grade teacher. The man who needs to congratulate one of the Fandalorians. I need to congratulate one.
Please let it be me. Please let it be me.
Okay. I'm congratulating myself, guys.
Oh,
I'm congratulating me. It's all about me because
okay, hey, let's not break our arm patting ourselves in the back here.
Exactly.
I broke my leg once. I'm gonna just make my way around my body.
So why are you congratulating yourself, Mr. Richardson?
You'll find out later. This episode is just full of me being right.
Oh, so is this a teaser? You know, it's like later in the episode. Find out how right I am.
No, you know how I get down. You know what it is. And I have a great microphone, by the way, for my kids. Merry Christmas to me. Wonderful. Co-teaching with me as well. High school teacher and the man who found out his son is better at another thing, Mr. McDonald. All right. Fist fight? Well, what happened?
Yeah. All right. So if you remember, we talked about how this is the first year that my 13-year-old son started playing fantasy football.
That's right.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Yep.
That was a big thing.
So he started off his year 0-2, and he made a couple of bad trades because he put friendship ahead of winning, and he learned a very valuable lesson. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so he locked in, and he won his fantasy football league.
Oh,
so
yeah.
my son, he is better than I am at fantasy football as well.
That's incredible. Was there money? No, right?
No, they're 13. It's bragging rights. It was all about the last place person has to have a punishment. I think the punishment they decided is, do you guys know the milk mile?
No, some kid thing that I don't know.
Yeah, so the milk mile, it's probably like a TikTok thing or whatever. It's you have to drink a gallon of milk and then run a mile.
Oh my God, that would not be.
Oh. I need the video. Who lost? I need to see this. I need to be a part of this. Can we all come watch this event?
I would have to do something else because I would literally die with the milk part.
Yeah, just drinking the gallon of milk would kill me, but that's because we're old.
Yeah,
and the kid who lost is like
even if they took one of those little milk cartons from school lunch, I'd be dead.
And the kid who lost is lactose intolerant too. This is gonna be just fascinating. I'm in for this. And my other co-teacher, the man who read some sort of book again, Mr.
Or listen.
Listened. What have
Yes,
you been listening to? It's been a while.
I just finished listening to my book club book. It's The Giver of the Stars by Jojo Moyes. And what I liked about this book was that it was a historical fiction, Depression era story about these women that lived in Kentucky that rode horses to deliver library books to the rural peoples of Kentucky. And of course, there's some problems that go on. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't give it 5, but I gave it 4. If you want to know why I gave it 4, you'd have to come to our book club meeting.
I can't make that, but I want to know this. As always, could this
Charlie,
be a Netflix 8-episode series, Charlie? That's what
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
When will your book club spin off into its own podcast?
Oh, I don't know. We meet at the local Panera, so it might be hard to do a podcast.
I want to be a part of that. And today's guest, the host of the Heroic Headspace Podcast, Mitch Medina. Mitch, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate you guys reaching out.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. So the Heroic Headspace Podcast is really just that. It's all about pop culture, anything that has to do with superheroes and supervillains, and I just like to get into a headspace with creativity, and really anything in pop culture sparks that and ignites that. So I like to get on and talk with people and different guests about what's going on in the pop culture world now, or what has gone on in the pop culture world from long ago, or what's coming in the future, and really just have some good conversations around it.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be fun today. It's gonna be fun because it's nice having the guest who just is completely in the wheelhouse with us for all of this. We got to ask you a couple of big obligatory. That's it, right, guys? Is it?
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm doing the Lord's work today. Question.
We're teachers. We're supposed to know this.
Yeah, we have to. Mitch, do you have a favorite teacher? Did you ever have a favorite teacher growing up? We're all teachers. We want to know.
Honestly, probably not. Maybe, and I wouldn't remember his name. But in my senior year of high school, my government teacher, because he was pretty lazy and let us out pretty early all the time. I only had two periods in my senior year of high school, and he was my second period. So he's a pretty lazy dude. So he let us out, and I was out of school by like 9 a.m. So
as a government teacher, I'm going to say he wasn't lazy. He was efficient.
There you go.
I was like, McDonald, how often do you let your kids leave early?
Oh, I would probably get fired if I let my kids leave early. In the age of cameras and all that.
Yes,
that's true.
This is
and I teach bell to bell instruction according to the DOE if they ever ask.
All right, Mitch. Well, thanks for joining us today. We got a lot to get to. We haven't had a chance to go over the news, guys. It's been a while since we've done the news. Mitch is with us. We're gonna have a good time. But first, it is time. I'm slowing it down, Charlie. I know you love that part. For the morning announcements.
Fandalorian fans, won't you lend me an ear? I hope this podcast sound is crystal clear. Now listen up, people, I got something to say. These are the morning announcements for today.
All right, now let's shift gears, take a flight straight into the Superman Legacy trailer everyone's talking about. From Metropolis to the big screen, lot to unpack. The budget for Superman Legacy is reported to be approximately $200 million. Scheduled to come out July 11th. Okay, when we saw the trailer, it seemed to be a focus on Superman's dual identity of him as Clark Kent and as the Man of Steel. The visuals seem nice. More of a hopeful, idealistic tone, I guess, contrasting somewhat of the darker DC stuff in the past that we know Mr. G loved the dark stuff. That's a spoiler. He really never did.
No, I never
we saw
did.
Mr. Terrific. Not at all. We saw Hawk Girl. We saw Guy Gardner. Nice haircut there. And the voiceover seemed to illustrate Superman's internal conflict about balancing his Kryptonian heritage and his human upbringing. There's a lot from a trailer. James Gunn is clearly setting a new tone. All right, guys. Thoughts on the trailer? Mitch, would you like to go first?
Sure.
What do you think of it?
Here's what I think is the most exciting thing about this trailer or the Superman project overall, is that this is not an origin story again. I can't stress enough how we don't need that, especially with Superman. I don't need to see Krypton blow up again. And so to see this trailer with all this wonderful color and these amazing visuals, and to see all these established DC heroes, I'm super excited for this movie. I'm so excited to go in and sit down in a movie theater and get on a ride with this adventure, because it's going to be something that we've seen but we haven't seen yet.
Mitch is gonna join us all the time, guys. Mitch, we're gonna be crossing over a lot, because right out the gate, I love what Mitch is talking about. I'm just gonna jump in with this. This is my first moment of today's episode of being right. I early on was the one who suggested, when no one knew who was running DC on this very podcast, I said, you know what, give it to James Gunn. So obviously I may be biased, but I'm not wrong that this is going to be a great movie. What I liked, similar to what Mitch just said, I don't need to repeat it. It's supposed to start 3 or 5 years in, right? So Superman's already established. I don't need to see Krypton blow up. And Mr. McDonald always says it best. Mr. McDonald, what of Batman do you never want to see again?
I don't want to see parents die. We all know what happens.
We're done with the jewel hitting the ground, the whole thing. So I like the music. I like the little John Williams, like little riff mix that they mix in there. Crypto made me laugh too. And I liked how optimistic and, like, you know, Superman is, because in reality, the issue with the Snyderverse, I think, for part of it was Batman's supposed to be dark and menacing and basically a jerk, and Superman's supposed to be the complete opposite. The Marvel equivalent, honestly, if we talk about the MCU, would be Captain America being Superman, and like the Punisher, if you watch Daredevil, being Batman, though Batman doesn't kill, but the same kind of, I'm all about stopping the crime. I don't care about anything else. It's violence. I'll get it done, get the job done. And Captain America's a little more, and that contrast between Batman and Superman that way, that is what the DC is. They shouldn't be friends. They didn't get along. Like, I shouldn't be friends with these guys, but I am. It's the same thing. Superman is perfect this way. If Batman's done, obviously the better Batman would be from the Batman movie, because that's almost perfect contrast from what we've seen. Either way, I'm excited. 3 to 5 years in, I'm good. McDonald, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I was arguing that before this trailer came out, that this may have been the most important trailer of at least the 21st century, because there was so much riding on this movie that this trailer has to hit. And so there were some things that I liked. There were some things that I didn't like. Some of the things that I liked, we spoke about. Crypto. I mean, good Lord, protect Crypto. I will lay my life on the line for that dog. He is adorable, and I will fight anyone who hurts him.
I'd fight him too.
Yeah. You know, we talked about the color palette. It's not, you know, it's not that darkness, and Superman shouldn't be dark. Superman has to fight his own inner darkness, and kind of, that's always the last resort. And that was the problem with Snyder, is he didn't quite understand what made Superman Superman. And I love the way they portray Clark Kent with like the ill-fitting suit and the floppy hair, and he plausibly looks like he could be a different person. Like, yeah. Christopher Reeves to me will always be like that to me. Nobody portrayed the physical differences between Clark and Superman better than Chris Reeves. And so there was a lot to like. What I didn't quite like is, I mean, I knew this was happening, but I think there's going to be too many characters in here.
I personally didn't mind that as much. Just like what Mitch said, is it's 3 to 5 years in. And if at this point Superman has friends that are heroes, and if they make a couple appearances, they're in Metropolis, but they're not part of the whole story, maybe not. And the reason I also like them being there is, as Superman, he gets to talk to other super characters. Most of these Superman movies, when he's in his full costume, he's either beating up villains or maybe kissing Lois, but he doesn't talk to anybody else. Right. There's no conversation with anyone ever as Superman. This time he can, and it's not Justice League, but he gets to actually, in hero mode, talk to other heroes. Batman sometimes talks to Robin, whatever. And Batman talks to Commissioner Gordon. Superman talks to no one. So we have some people sprinkled in, and it's different, right? We haven't seen it before. Charlie, you're not a big DC fan. I'm so excited to hear what Charlie.
I got one more point I want to hit.
Yeah, go.
So the only thing I'm worried about is I don't want this movie to turn into Age of Ultron with the Avengers, because I feel like the biggest complaint with Age of Ultron for the Avengers, it was essentially a 2-hour trailer for other Marvel movies. And I don't want this to be like, guess who's coming and getting their own movie? Guess what's going to happen next? And then we're going to do this. And so that's just what I worry about with trying to stuff too much plot. Now, what I will tell you is I'm definitely going to trust James Gunn, because if there's one thing I've noticed just from watching Creature Commandos is he and Guardians as well, Guardians of the Galaxy, is he does know how to kind of establish a group rapport and get everyone kind of their shots off and give everyone their minutes.
But still make one person be the main point of the show. Like the first Guardians was wrapped around Quill. Everyone got shots off, but it was Quill's story. I think he can pull that off again. Charlie, DC's not your universe, but are you slightly interested in going to see this?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
No.
You guys all said it though. The only thing that I liked was the fact, that looks color-wise, the color palette. It's a bright looking show. It's not the dark and dreary kind of look to it. What's got it going is that I believe the soundtrack's going to be great. James Gunn brings the soundtrack to life in every single one of his movies. So I think that the soundtrack to this is going to be pretty good too.
Well, one of
Charlie,
the things
if we all go with you, will you come with us? Because here's the thing, you love all James Gunn stuff.
That is true.
Usually, James Gunn's your guy.
He is.
I think the three of us should go for this. I think Mitch, you're going to fly up to New York. The four of us are going to go for that stuff.
No, one of the things that I did read is James Gunn said it's not going to be a bunch of like pop songs that drive the music. It's going to be more of a score, and they're gonna borrow a lot from John Williams, his original score. So I think it's going to sound very heroic and uplifting. But I'm sure James Gunn, he can't help it. He's going to drop some needle drops.
So he just got rid of my only thing that I was like excited about, and then
you never know. He's got to play it differently.
So wait, let me take it back. No, I heard he will do some needle drops.
Yeah, that's right. So, Mitch, something we do on the podcast is we sometimes rate the trailer and our level of excitement as teachers Monday to Friday. Friday, obviously, being crazy excitement because you're done with school for the weekend. It's the last day of the work week. Monday and Monday morning. So, what day would you put this trailer on to you? What day of the week?
For this one, for me, for sure, it's Friday. There haven't been a lot of superhero movies or projects, really like TV project trailers and stuff lately. I've been giving a lot of Mondays out, if that's how we're rating them. But this one I was ready for. I wanted to see the trailer. I wanted to see everything that was going on with it. So I'm Friday for this one for sure.
Friday as well, McDonald.
I'm not like Friday before a vacation Friday, but I am Friday. I have high hopes for this. But this isn't the movie that I have the highest hopes for this year.
Charlie, Monday.
Wednesday.
Not bad. You know what?
That's pretty high for Charlie for a DC movie.
There are certain things that I will be like. So, for example, I was at the movie theater just the other day, and walking around the theater, they had all the billboards for posters, and there's the movie I believe it's called The Monkey, and it has one of those cymbal clapping monkeys.
Yeah, it's Robbie Williams actually.
No, it's not.
Oh, The Monkey. Yeah, it's from the horror movie.
Yeah,
it's horror book.
Some sort of little killer monkey. Yeah. And my son jokingly says, "Hey, you want to see that?" I'm like, "No." So this I'll go see. That monkey movie, I will not see. And that other one with Robbie Williams, I won't see that either.
Well, you got to get monkeys, Charlie.
Yeah, I won't. But this one, if you guys legit said, "Hey, let's go get together, watch this," I'll go with you. But if you said, "Hey, let's go watch this monkey movie," no, not at all.
We're gonna say we're going to Superman and just send you to the monkey movie.
Ugh.
In addition to this, DC, yeah, that's right. DC Universe casting. Sure, I said it right the first time. Lobo was cast. Jason Momoa expressed his excitement. He has been cast as Lobo. You may know him as playing Aquaman in the Snyderverse. He is now going to be back in the new DC Universe playing Lobo. It's significant, kind of odd. What do you think? Jason Momoa being cast as Lobo in the new DC Universe. His first appearance is going to be in the Supergirl movie, Woman of Tomorrow. Good idea for him moving from Aquaman to this. Should they have got someone else? McDonald, what do you think?
I think this is perfect casting. I mean, you look at Lobo in the comics, especially like peak Lobo, when he was like super popular in the early 2000s, late 90s. He looks like Jason Momoa right now. He's one of those guys, I don't even think he has to put makeup on to do the role. So I think this is going, and Momoa, the way he portrayed Aquaman, he really was portraying Lobo. That's how Lobo should be. Remember, Aquaman is a king. He's supposed to be kind of noble and that kind of thing. And
Black
so
Panther.
I think that's he's much more Lobo than Aquaman. So I'm very excited for this. What do you guys think?
Mitch, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm fully agree with that. I think casting him as Aquaman was horrible. I think Snyder's version of Aquaman was the most horrible version of Aquaman ever. The entire story, every time Aquaman showed up in the DCEU, it sucked, hands down. That character should have been like Game of Thrones type, like royalty, coming out of Atlantis. We didn't need like an origin story that was so wildly just unawesome to watch. It sucked. He had
So you're telling us it sucked, Mitch?
Yeah, like he had no place in those Justice League movies either. Like he didn't contribute anything too much. Like his power set it wasn't there. So to see him come out as Lobo, one, that's been his dream forever. That's like Tom Holland saying he wants to be Spider-Man, or Andrew Garfield saying he wants to be Spider-Man and getting that role. He's going to own it. He's going to love it. He's going to play it. He's going to give it everything. And then when you look at Momoa's, like, outside of Aquaman, when he was Conan the Barbarian, he was really good there. The bad guy that he plays in the Fast and Furious franchise,
He's really good
when
there,
when you blend some of that together and let him cook as Lobo, Millie Alcock being Supergirl, those two together with whatever that's going to look like is going to be something really good to watch. I'm in line for that one already too.
It's funny. As Pat was talking about what Lobo looks like, I had to go Google it really quick. Yes, I could definitely see how he kind of already has that vibe to him. To me, I would recognize him as Aquaman, maybe be confused as people that aren't so like into it, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I can imagine people,
they're going to make a joke about it.
Well, hopefully they do, if they have James Gunn's wit throughout the, his comedic sense of writing in there. But I think that might confuse the lay person, and then even though they might not even recognize him as being Aquaman, anyway.
He's going to be in heavy makeup.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, not realize, be like, oh, he's Aquaman too. That kind of thing.
Yeah. But thankfully, as Mitch said, his Aquaman sucked.
Yes. Nobody watched those movies anyway. It didn't really.
Well, I mean, the first Aquaman made $1 billion. The second one made $1.
Right. So $1 billion is, that's decent. What are we doing? That's okay. All right. From one exciting casting announcement to another, got some thrilling news about the world of Penguin. Season 2 officially a go. Fans are buzzing with anticipation. What's coming next for Gotham's notorious crime boss? Season 1, Oswald Oz Cobblepot rise in Gotham's criminal underworld. Colin Farrell as Oz just won the Golden Globe a few days ago when we were recording. Kristen Milioti, I think I said her name right? As Sophia, didn't win a Golden Globe, but I felt like she should because Jodie Foster's performance doesn't even touch hers. That's my opinion. Again, I may be biased, but again, it doesn't make me wrong. Multiple directors. Matt Reeves was a part of it. It came out December 13th. Critical acclaim. It's done well. At the Golden Globe, Matt Reeves announced they are going to do a season 2. Taking their time, getting it right. They have to wait till Batman 2 comes out, obviously, because this leads into that. When that's all done, they're 100% doing another season. We talked about this slightly when we reviewed Penguin, but we'll just ask the question again. Now that we know what's going to happen, what do we think about their now announcing a season 2 of Penguin, Mr. J?
I'm excited because I really enjoyed Penguin in the first place. But my only reservation is that how he said the fact that, oh, we're going to take it slow. We got to wait. We got to come up with things in line. Like, he didn't ever have an intended of making a season 2. Like, for him, he made that season 1, and they're only making a season 2 because of its success. Not that it was like an original intent.
That's true. I like the idea, though, that season 1 was just a season 1 story. We're going to make one story and not, as Mr. McDonald said about Ultron earlier, write a story because we're planning season 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We made one season, it's successful. Batman 2, they're going to work on, and maybe we can come up with something afterwards that fits the story moving forward.
Like, to me, that's the worrying part. Like, we're going to try to make it fit in just so we can make this show.
Yeah, but Batman 2, it has to fit after Batman 2 because they go in sequential order. So you have to make it after what happens in the... Because you have to assume they have the script for Batman 2, but in the process of filming, they make changes. I don't know. Yeah. I like shows that go one season at a time sometimes. But, that's what I'm thinking.
How much do you think the Penguin is going to be in Batman 2? Because if he's not really in it at all, that's going to work out perfect. They have carte blanche to do whatever they want. Or if he's minimally in it like he is in Batman 1, then they've got plenty of kind of meat on the bone to pick at. I'm just concerned that if he's a big part of this, what are they going to do for season 2?
Well, yeah, because part of what we really liked about season 1, or at least myself, is the fact that Batman really wasn't involved as much. And, our biggest criticism was like, hey, he's doing all this stuff, blowing stuff up. Why isn't Batman there? So to me, the idea is that there's something bigger going on in the city that's got Batman kind of wrapped up, that he can't take care of this low-level street crime at the moment.
All right. Mitch, what do you think? Season 2?
Yeah, I think you guys are hitting the good points here, but we all know that this first season takes place like days after the movie, and it takes place over the course of a week. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on with the Batman 2, and it's a lot. Supposedly, what it's going to be is a lot of Batman understanding that he can't do as much for Gotham in its current state as Bruce Wayne can. So I think in that time frame, while the Penguin is happening, Bruce Wayne is dealing with a lot more than Batman is, which is why we don't see him. Which, again, and I heard you guys talk about this on your review, and I agreed with it. This is a perfect show because it's a Batman show that has no Batman in it. It's a crime show. It's The Sopranos. I mean, it's great. And then it just has all these little hints of some of the best parts of Batman, Dark Victory, The Long Halloween, those kind of things. And I love shows like that because I'm not, especially when I'm dealing with like Batman or Daredevil, I don't need all that extra super fantastical stuff going on. Give me that street level gang stuff. Let Batman be a crime fighter, right? And so I think Penguin 2, the season 2 should happen. But definitely only after the rest of the projects have played out and we know where we're going with it, right? I do know Colin Farrell said that he's got some scenes. He's got like 6 scenes or something that he's supposed to be in for the Batman 2. But that script's not finished, and we know that too, so that could change. But I don't think he's going to be a main player at all. I think he might have a scene or two, like a visit. Maybe it's even Bruce Wayne and Oz talking or something. But I think it'll leave, like you said, it'll leave a lot to unpack in Penguin season 2 because he won't be so much involved in the second Batman.
Hopefully one of those scenes is Batman punching him in the face repeatedly after what he did in the season finale of the show. That'll make me happy to be worth the money.
I'm sorry, I had a question because I've been now I'm kind of Googling something here. With Mitch, you happened to mention that the show starts a week after the events of the Batman movie.
It's either the week. It's the week.
It's a week after.
Yeah.
It says I thought this one. I think it says it's a day after. But then I don't know if you saw this or you know this or you misspoke when you were saying or I misheard it. You said that the course of events of the Penguin takes place over a week. So from start to finish is a week.
It's like a week or a month because the weather changes like within the first few episodes or something like that. And I think the first episode takes place like the next day. Like the explosion has just happened and the end of the Batman movies goes on.
Yeah, and
And then the
to clean up
Penguin
the-
immediately
oh.
starts right after that, and it takes place.
Yeah, like the streets are still wet.
Yeah, like the flooding is still happening and all that. So
Well, okay, so that I guess kind of makes sense to why Batman isn't so like dialed
Occupied.
into what's going on, because
Right.
there's really, or after, because it says it's 1 week after the funeral, it's 1 week after the Batman. So yeah, so the whole idea is that I guess
Yeah,
the
so
length, not enough time for
time
Batman
frame-
to notice it. Okay.
yeah, the time frame is supposed to be really small because the premise of the Batman 2 is, or the thing is that it's supposed to take place in the winter. The next movie is supposed to be, and they've been teasing Mr. Freeze as the main like snow ice villain, because that movie, if the beginning of the Batman, he's where he's narrating, it's Halloween, it's October 31st, everything's crazy, the city's out, right? And so
Right.
that takes place over a couple of nights. So you're into November, and then the events of the Penguin, and then the second movie is supposed to take us into December with allegedly Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
But now with this
Could be
Clayface movie,
the following winter. Doesn't have to be the next
Well,
season.
it says that the Riddler
Nice.
flooded Gotham City on November 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
It's what they're.
yeah. So it's supposed to all be
So this ends on Thanksgiving.
basically, yeah.
Basically. Again, I like that they have time. They don't have to rush it. We're not in the age anymore where most TV shows required to be out in September, network shows. Where
Yeah.
like the first season of Heroes was fantastic, but having to come up with a new idea in 2 months to do Heroes season 2, if you ever watch Heroes season 2, was absolutely horrible. You're being rushed. We got to figure it out. This was like the #1 hit. Penguin, they have it's going to be years before this come out.
And they don't have to worry about
all
anyone
you have to
aging
do-
out.
Just all you got to do is come up with a great story, and it's fun.
And I have the
think
idea.
they can do it. I also like people. I'm a capitalist. I like people making money because I went through the IMBD of this, and I'm not talking Colin Farrell, and I'm not talking Matt Reeves. I'm talking about I looked it up. 250 people worked on this. I'm talking production assistants, art design, editors. All these people just would like to have more income, and guess what? If this gets brought back, they all get brought back, and I'm all about people making money. Happy for
Mr.
them.
Finn, a man
God
of the
bless them.
people.
Yo, capitalist, man, make your money. Make
Absolutely.
your money. McDonald, you got to pitch for season 2 before we get out of here.
So, ready? It was something in the season finale that they kind of hinted at, and I think this should be the premise of Penguin season 2. So, see, at the end of season 1, it ends with him essentially the head of a crime family, but they stop in town hall for a little bit, in city hall, I should say. And so, what I think is season 1 was more like The Sopranos, where season 2 should be more like Boardwalk Empire. And it's going to get more into the politics of Gotham. And, give us some part of Gotham that we don't see a lot. Because, we always hear of various mayors and police commissioners, but you never see them being political, making deals, doing all those issues. And so I think it would be really cool to get kind of a Gotham political side, especially from someone as immoral as the Penguin.
I like it. You know what? I like the idea.
I agree with that.
As long as he gets punched in the face repeatedly at some point, then I'm in. That boy didn't deserve to die. That boy didn't deserve to die. If you're enjoying this conversation, Mitch, are you having fun so far?
Absolutely.
Mitch is enjoying it. Guys, Mitch loves us. But if you want to support the podcast, here's how you can get involved. McDonald, how can he support the show?
So let's talk about how you, the listener, can support the show. You want to support the show, you head over to TeePublic and grab some cool merch like shirts, hoodies, and hats. Guys, we had someone buy a shirt the other day, and it wasn't even like a member of our families. It's like a legit fan. I love it. Now, every purchase helps fund Laney's Legacy of Hope, a nonprofit supporting families dealing with pediatric cancer. 100% of our proceeds go straight to the cause. You can learn more at laneyslegacy.org. And if you're on Long Island, not Orlando, if you're on Long Island, you can stop by Red Shirt Comics in Port Jeff Village. Tell Mr. Darby the Fandalorians sent you for a disapproving look. He's going to be like, how do you know about the Fandalorians?
Right.
And then you're going to give him one of those like head nods like you secretly know something and you're like, yeah. Anyway, so no matter where you are, don't forget to support your local comic book shops. So now that we've covered how you can support the show, let's dive into some festive fun. Speaking of events that brought us a lot of excitement this year, let's talk about the NBA Christmas Disney simulcast, an incredible blend of sports and entertainment that had everyone talking.
Christmas Day, guys. The NBA introduced a groundbreaking on
Baking.
Christmas Day. Yeah, you know what? That's what they did. It was a baking episode, and it was fantastic. And after the baking, they play basketball. You got to work off those calories, guys. I'm at my age. You can't just sit down after the cake. You got to go for a walk. You know how it is. Anyway, the real game was the Spurs versus the Knicks at the Garden at noon. But on ESPN2 was the Dunk the Halls animated simulcast. It looked like virtual Main Street USA in Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Live animation of the game using real-time technology. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald, Goofy especially was dropping buckets in that game. The commentaries was Monica McNutt and Drew Carter. Daisy Duck was a sideline reporter. Sony's Beyond Sports and Hawkeye Innovations was a part of this. The fan reception has been fantastic. The innovative broadcast attracted significant attention. 87% increase in NBA ratings on that day from last Christmas. Fans were enthusiastic. They liked the blend, the Disney characters. It was all over social media. It didn't really have much negativity. Like, there wasn't many people talking bad about it. What do you think of the NBA's decision to incorporate Disney characters and animation to their Christmas Day game between the Knicks and the Spurs? I'm just to say this real quick. The brilliance, because I watched it and I have a 4-year-old in my house now, so she was watching it. The brilliance of saying, oh God, who was the one who was, Towns, right? Knicks center Karl Anthony Towns is taking the bench and Goofy's coming in for him. So I quickly turned to the real game to realize that Karl Anthony Towns is still in the game, but Goofy is him on the TV screen. So while we're watching the game and suddenly Goofy's got 3 dunks in the lane, block shot. And the animation was so smooth, much better than what they did for football that one time. Much better. It looked perfect.
Well, they learned.
They learned. They adapted. It was great. And I got a 4-year-old sitting there watching it all the time, loving every second of it, cheering on Donald. And then it stumbled into a great Spurs-Knicks game. And then one of the players, Bridges, who was Donald Duck on the Disney ESPN2 version, was the person who scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to lead the comeback. So if you're watching the Disney version of the game, Donald was ridiculous from downtown.
Donald was cooking it.
Then we had one play where he came off a screen and Mickey on the Spurs team, Mickey subbed in for Chris Paul. So you have Donald guarding Mickey at the top of the key. And Donald does a dribble step back 3 in his face. Like, you're sitting there going, like, oh my God. It was fun to watch. Everyone was seeming to be enjoying it. I had a good time. And honestly, for the kids, students in my class were talking about it after the break, that they watched it. Did you see Goofy? He was playing for the Knicks. I mean, whatever. I thought it was cool. McDonald, what do you want to say?
One of the reasons that it was such a big increase over last year's noon game is because it was the Knicks who are good, and it was Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs. But really tailoring this to kids, these are 2 really good teams to do that. I mean, I thought it was really, really interesting, and it was fun to watch.
Fun style, yeah.
But what I had to do is every couple minutes, I had to go back to the regular broadcast, because sometimes the screen moved too fast, and it kind of hurt my eyes a little bit. But I'm old, yeah. But I thought it was super fun. I want them to do it again, and the more they do it, they're going to better get at it. Did you see the halftime dunk contest?
Funny. It was cute. Isabella wouldn't let me turn the channel. She stood there. I had to make her sit back multiple times, and it was just could not move. My 4-year-old niece lives with us, Mitch, and could not move. And she'd never watched basketball. Only seen one game Bryn played when Bryn plays, and was just in. Then started asking questions. That's where 3. Uncle Jimmy, look at Donald. Uncle Jimmy, like, she was into it. So yeah, that dunk contest was fun. I couldn't turn the channel. I did have a good time. Mitch, I don't know you saw part
Mitch
of it.
Mitch is right in. He lives and works right near the House of Mouse.
You're right there.
I'm actually.
I saw you coaching.
I live so close to the Disney bubble that when I open the app to see what the wait times are, I can see my location at my house.
Oh wow!
So it's
pretty cool.
I'm right in the magic all the time. I thought this was really fun. There's two things that come to mind. One is that when they do stuff like this, I'm fully aware that there are kids my age, right? Like 80s and 90s babies who are at some level working at Disney and making things like this happen, because that's NBA Jam from the Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah,
so these are kids who grew up playing big head mode on that, went off and got big jobs, and were like, you know what used to be awesome is big head mode on NBA Jam. Let's make that happen in real life now. And then that goes to the other thing with Disney. I'm in love with everything Disney when it comes to like the Imagineering. I'm a huge fan of finding all of the little details in the theme parks and in the movies and everything. And so when you get such creativity behind this type of thing, and they just make this kind of magic happen for like a Christmas thing, because it's doing exactly like what you're talking about. It's putting little kids in front of the TV with their parents. So your parents are sports fans and they're watching. I don't know how many times when I was little, when my dad made me sit through a ball game that I didn't want to watch. But if Mickey Mouse was pitching and Goofy was at bat, I'd probably be more excited about that. And so you're creating this connection there. I think that's awesome. And it was a great game too, for sure.
It was.
Well, yeah, they did it with Simpsons with football. They did it with Disney and basketball. So what are they going to do for hockey or baseball?
Right.
So ready? Because Disney owns it. I want the Alien franchise, and I want all those characters doing hockey.
I want Disney involved in. I want Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Squid Game version. I think that's where we need to go next, guys.
There it is.
Charles, what do you think?
You left out me. I got the hot take on this one.
Here we go.
I hated it. And it mostly because I don't like watching sports. But to me, when I was and I love, like, Mitch, everything you just said about Disney, like 100%, I agree with everything that came out of your mouth right there. Mm-hmm. But to me, I did not enjoy it. I watched a good 10 minutes of it. Granted, that was just by myself watching it. I watched 10 minutes of it.
Kids watch it at all?
No.
Yeah.
And I just did not enjoy it. I thought, Miss McDonald, it was kind of hard to, I don't know. It was kind of hard to watch. I thought they kind of moved around a little clunky at times. And my hot take is they're training us to want to watch video games for sports. You know how much overhead and money they could just make by not paying athletes?
It'll be digital athletes.
Yeah. You're like just one step closer. There's so many kids that watch people play video games these days that this is just a very a very simple switch over to be like, oh, it's now a digitalized version of it, to where, hey, you know what? We don't need people.
Yeah, but live sports will always be live sports.
They will never get rid of live sports because gambling is the biggest thing in this country, and
Why
that's
can't
gone.
they gamble? We gambled on the fake Tyson. They gambled on the fake Tyson.
That's different because there's people who actually believe that was legit, and they're dumb for it. Myself being one of them, possibly. But if you're telling me people are going to bet thousands of dollars that a fake computer version of an athlete is going to score this many points in the game, when they can clearly rig the game midway because they see the betting, that doesn't work.
Why can't sports have been rigged throughout the invention of sports?
There's your hot take, Charlie.
Sports have always been rigged.
Not
always been rigged. Now, not every game, not every play, but
of course, everything's rigged. We all right, there's every aspect of society have people who aren't doing the right thing they're supposed to. But the idea they're going to get rid of every sport and replace it with a computer version and eliminate gambling.
In the movies,
I just don't think it's possible.
In the movies, they replace the athletes with robots.
But the movies also,
there was, what was the one, the real, what's his name, with the boxing?
Real Steel.
Yeah, Real Steel. They put robots boxing. We already have robots.
Robots.
Yeah, we already have Fight Club robots with battle bots.
Yeah,
right.
I know, but the weird thing about that,
sports reporters right after this.
I know, I love it. But the weird thing about that is that's just a movie. I don't think it's going to happen. But
no, battle bots is a real thing. It's a real thing, and you can bet on that too.
Do you bet on it and watch it? No, I don't. But we don't watch it, right? It's not as big of a thing. It's like soccer in this country isn't as big. I'm telling you. I don't think it's going to happen. Either way, I did enjoy it, though.
Wait, Mr. Richardson, you have to, this decisiveness, you have to transition for Star Wars decisiveness?
Ooh, that's you decide. I don't have you decisive.
All right, okay.
Transition.
All right. So
McDonald, make the transition. Let's go.
all right. So coming from
Mr.
this
G hates fun. Let's go.
coming from this decisiveness on sports, we're going to talk about another decisive, divisive angle, and we're going to talk about Star Wars. Star Wars was acquired by Disney way back in 2012, and we have had a lot of Star Wars content. So there has been 3 sequel films, 2 anthology films. We have Rogue One and Solo. There is 7 live action series. And then there's 4 animated series. So guys, there has been a lot of Star Wars content recently. And with over a decade of Star Wars content produced since Disney's acquisition, how do you guys feel about the current state of Star Wars right now? Are you satisfied with the decisions, the direction that it's taking? Or do you think it's time to change some things up? What do you guys think? Let's start with Mr. Richardson.
You're going to start with me because you know how negative I'm going to be. You've seen the show. You know how I get down. Listen, I'll start it this way. This has always been my thinking. Star Wars, when they decided to sell to Disney and Disney decided they're going to remake the movies, it's about nostalgia. Nostalgia is home cooking. I'm going to go home. I'm going to see my mom. She's going to make my favorite food she used to make when I was a kid. The greens, the kale. My mother's from the South. All this stuff. McDonald, you've been over the house.
Indeed.
You've been over that. You know what it's like. It's good food. It's good food. That
Comfort
first
food.
trilogy, that was comfort food. But then if I go to my house, my mom says, I'm making shrimp scampi tonight. It's not going to work. That's not comfort food. That's not nostalgia. You moved away from nostalgia. When they made that first trilogy, they could have gone the nostalgia route, which is kind of what the fans want. I watched Raw premiere on Netflix last night. The Rock came out in the middle of the ring and literally said to the fans, it's about you. It's about what you want. The fans wanted nostalgia with that first trilogy. Now, I get it. They swing for the fences. The McDonald's, you said plenty of time. They showed me something new. They tried something. I argue it didn't work because they didn't give us the nostalgia that we wanted. We kind of wanted that. The Next Generation Star Trek show, they gave us the nostalgia we wanted. We wanted Han, Luke, together in at least one scene, maybe coming back together after not seeing each other for a while, battling something. And yeah, you sprinkle in some new people and you could spin off of that. Mando could have spinned off of that universe. Skeleton Crew could have spun off of that universe. That's what you could have done. They decided not to go nostalgia. They want to do something different. Okay. As I tell the students in my class, you can do whatever you want, but there's consequences. You have to accept what's going to happen. And you have to accept the fact that, this isn't what the fans want. We don't want to give them what they want. Okay. That's why some people have been upset with Star Wars, because you had a chance to scratch the nostalgia. Why you guys like Goonies? I never watched it. I didn't really like it because I don't have nostalgia for it, right? They didn't give us the nostalgia. They didn't give us the home cooking that we wanted. What do they go from here? I don't know. They want to try something new. They want to go to the acolyte in the past. People don't want the past. People want the nostalgia. I don't understand why. And McDonald, you've said this. Let's go to the future. Let's do something different. No one's going to watch. No one's going to care. It's very rare you can get people. They want the nostalgia. People get mad when you give them something they don't want. I'm telling you, we have to accept it. We don't always want this. We want the nostalgia. That's what's going to print money. You in this business to make money or not? I'm in to make money, not to make friends. If I want to make money, then nostalgia is the pull they should have done. They should have taken Luke, branched off with him, his own Jedi Academy, and have the Academy move from there. That was the brilliant move. That was the smart move. Someone at the table said that. They ignored them. Here we are. I haven't been happy with what they've done. I'm going to keep watching, but I can't say I've been completely happy with the direction. Mitch, what's your thoughts?
I agree with a lot of what you said. Here's kind of what I think. The biggest thing with Star Wars, with any of them, when you have Marvel, DC, any of them, but Star Wars for sure is you have to tell good stories. You absolutely have to be a good storyteller and tell something that's good, right? So that's why Rebels works more than the Clone Wars. because Rebels gave you a bunch of new characters, but it told a story within a certain time frame. It built it around what we kind of were already familiar with, gave us familiar characters to kind of play off of, and then it told this really great story, reintroduced some of our favorite characters, and then allowed us to go into like Ahsoka season 1, which was basically Rebels season 5 or whatever, right? Which is what you wanted too, right? You wanted that story to continue. I think the biggest flop where Disney messed up the biggest was right at the beginning. When they acquired Star Wars, they had all these, they were like kids in a candy store, right? They had this IP, and they were like, we can do anything we want with this. And they started just shooting off ideas, and they were like, well, wait a minute, we can't do whatever we want with this. We have to do very specific things with this. So they went after big name directors to try and force this like sequel trilogy on us. And that didn't work because it wasn't good storytelling. If you want to give, like, we could have done the Rey thing, right? But the movie should have been about catching up to where we are, like establish where we are. Where's Luke? Where's Han? Where's Leia? Where's all these characters we just left? Because chronologically, we just left them like 10 minutes ago. Like, this is episode 7 from 6. Where are we? And then you could develop Rey over 8 and 9 and go off that way, right? But when they stopped giving these projects to just whatever big name person was coming after it, and they allowed the creators and the people who are in love with Star Wars, who are fans, the Jon Favreau's, Filoni, right?
Dave Filoni, yeah.
Yeah, you let them come in and start taking the helm and go, okay, this is a project that we know is going to work. And then you start, like, when you have Bo-Katan, who's a beloved character from the Clone Wars, who's voiced by Katie Sackhoff, and then exactly like what you were saying earlier, you give the fans what they want. You let Katie Sackhoff play Bo-Katan in the live action so that your fans are, going, hey, that's our person, right? So again, Star Wars for me, it's a hyperfixation. It has been for a few years. I love everything about it, but I have those same reservations. Like, when a new project is announced, I'm hesitant at first. And I'll say this, I gave Acolyte the benefit of the doubt with the first episode, and then after the first episode, I was on board with everyone else. I was like, okay, this can't possibly be real, right? And that tainted my my excitement going into Skeleton Crew, because I was just like, this is something I can probably just leave on the table. But I'm up to date on the Skeleton Crew. I watch it as it drops because it's good storytelling. I know where I am in this. I know where, as far as when. Like, I understand when I am in the Star Wars universe, and I love these new characters. They're intriguing. They're fun to like go on this little adventure with because it's a fun story. And so that's one of those things, right? You have the Acolyte, which was horrible. It had great potential. The High Republic and all that. I mean, that's great.
Had the greatest potential,
but it flopped. And then now Skeleton Crew. So, I mean, you get some bad, but you're starting to get more. And I think that comes from, really it comes from Iger coming back to Disney as the parent and saying we have to, because he stopped Marvel from all of that quantity over quality stuff. And then he went after Kathleen Kennedy for the same thing. I mean, he's putting pressure on her to leave. So I think Star Wars is going to get better, because I think ultimately, probably within the next 5 or 10 years, maybe sooner, Filoni and Favreau will be in charge of Star Wars for sure.
Mitch, I'm listening to you very intently and trying to absorb what you're saying. And one of the things that that struck with me in one of the things you're saying is talking about, besides your good story, the idea of like liking the character. Like Skeleton Crew, I'm a big fan of Skeleton Crew right now. And part of it is like, I really like the characters.
Yeah.
Like, I really like what's going on with these kids. Yes, it's in the Star Wars universe and it feels Star Wars adjacent, even though there's all these little bells and whistles to Star Wars. It's just very Star Wars adjacent. But I like the characters. Same thing with The Mandalorian. Like, why can't I think of his name? The Mandalorian. Din
Djarin.
Yeah, Din Djarin. Like, I like the character, the whole idea of the baby Yoda, being like,
It
oh
was
my God.
Grogu.
Well, we didn't know that at first, but like you fell in love with that character, even the assassin droid that like ended up like
IG-11.
IG-11, yeah.
all of that stuff was like, I liked those characters. I bought into those characters a lot. And then like Boba Fett, you went into Boba Fett like, yeah, it's Boba Fett. And then it was just a terrible story.
Mhm.
Obi-Wan was kind of like a bait and switch because to me it was more like baby Princess Leia kind of story. I kind of enjoyed it for its silliness, but it was take it or leave it. I don't need to watch season 2. Andor was kind of like a curveball because did we need the show? Maybe not, but like it turned out to be great because it was just like the Penguin in the sense that it was like a different type of Star Wars movie that we're not necessarily always getting. And then Ahsoka, there's things about Ahsoka that I did not enjoy. And with The Acolyte, I think the premise was great. I just did not like the characters as much as I enjoying the other characters in the other shows. I think it could have had great potential, but like I said, the characters, like I wasn't immediately enthralled with who this character was. Like I get the story where it went. But yeah, I think that's kind of some of the issue with some of these movies or shows is that they're trying to get new characters for us to really enjoy. And, not everyone's going to like everything. There's such a broad fan base.
Star Wars, it's incredibly complicated. And, the movies we know certainly didn't hit. And you can tell they've announced how many different movie trilogies that haven't even happened. And they keep getting kind of backburnered. And that just tells me that nobody's really nailing it. And now, Mr. Richardson, you're talking about selling nostalgia. And I'm going to agree with you here because I always say, give me something new. But I don't think that's what a majority of people want. And I might not even want that either. What I think people want is they want something they know, something that's comfortable, that's pretending to be something new. And what I mean by that is you look at the success so far of the Skeleton Crew. And why do people enjoy it so much? It's not really an original story. It's a pirate story. And we've had 10,000 pirate stories in history. And it's just a pirate story masquerading as a Star Wars story. And I always say this about the Marvel movies, that the best Marvel movies are just certain genre films in the Marvel universe. Winter Soldier is an espionage film, and Captain America really is a historical movie, and Ant-Man is a heist movie, and like my other favorite Star Wars movie from the Disney releases has been Rogue One, because you know what that was? That was a war movie dressed up like a Star Wars movie. And so the problem is when we give a Star Wars movie that's dressed up as a Star Wars movie, there's no story. We're all just like, okay, this isn't enough to keep me entertained. And so they have to just keep giving us something different. And I forget where, I think I read it somewhere or heard it on a podcast, but it's saying that these modern Star Wars movies are Star Wars movies made by people who grew up on Star Wars, where George Lucas didn't grow up on Star Wars. Mm-hmm. He grew up on Westerns. He grew up on sci-fi like Flash Gordon. And
Samurais.
And Samurai. Mm-hmm. And so he incorporated so much of that into his movies, which made it feel fresh. And the problem, I think, with especially the current the most recent trilogy of movies, and even the Acolyte and Obi-Wan and Boba Fett especially, is they don't feel fresh. It's just give me something comfortable, but in a new kind of way, and they just didn't. They didn't give me anything new.
No, I think we've all touched on the same point, but again, the biggest thing for me has always been, and ever since we started this podcast years ago, it's the characters. I need to like the characters, and then I'm there for the ride. nostalgia is one thing, and I like how Picard season 3 brought everyone back, but added new elements to it. So you had the nostalgia and you had new people. What Mitch said is brilliant. The first movie should have been catching up to everybody, and maybe they're all strained, but they come together for a purpose. Maybe he starts the temple and Rey's there, and then something happens. A lot of Jedi die and Rey's on her own, but we've branched off from there. There's a way to grab the past and bring you in and then establish new things moving on. But it's the characters. I watch wrestling, and they'll have these matches where there's two people, and again, it's wrestling. They'll be having a match and they're battling all over the place, doing flips, jumping around. But if there's no story, people generally don't care. And I grew up watching wrestling. There would be a story. There's a reason why Andre the Giant, ripped the thing off of Hogan, or the Rockers broke up and threw him through. If you have a story, everything works. And if the characters are great and you like them, you're following along. A lot of the things you're talking about, McDonald, I didn't care too much about the characters. We love the characters in the Skeleton Crew. I love all those kids. I'm in for the ride. Baby Yoda, we didn't know the name at the time, in for the ride. Boba Fett, we thought, like Mr. G said, we thought we were going to like it. And then we realized the character, they didn't do much with him, because he was just had like 2 or 3 scenes in the original trilogy. He was awesome. The toy was cool. But they didn't do anything with the character in that show.
Cool armor?
No. They could have done something more with the character in that show to give me time to like him. And then I don't even care what nonsense. You could write a crazy script, but if you like the character, you're there for the ride. You're there for the ride.
Randy, here's the coolest.
That's what they need to work out.
This was the coolest Boba Fett story that I thought they should have done. What they should have done is they should have legit killed Boba Fett. And I almost thought they were going to do it for a minute remember when he ran into, who was the guy who was wearing Boba Fett's armor? Do you remember that?
Cobb Vanth.
Cobb Vanth, yeah.
Yes.
And so what I thought would be really cool is if this was the series, but they already kind of ruined it. But so you have somebody gets Boba Fett's armor, and so they think he's Boba Fett. And so then he's like, all right, I got nothing else to do. Maybe I'll become a bounty hunter. And then everyone's treating him like he's this, mythical hitman, but he's the fish out of water, not knowing what to do. And he just kind of gets by accidentally, or maybe he's secretly or an untrained Jedi and uses that to his ability. But I thought that would be super fun.
The guy, Mr. G, who was the guy? What's the actor's name? Was that the person who
Timothy Oliphant?
Yeah,
thank
Oliphant.
you. His character in the scene he was in, you could have spun him off real quick. He's a likable rogue character. He played the same guy in Justified. You put him in the Star Wars universe, you give me 6 episodes, I'm there. Because
you know what I like? What Pat said is that thinking about Boba Fett, he really wasn't that great fighter. Like he was
wasn't even good at his job.
Exactly. So having Timothy Oliphant be pretending to be this guy makes sense, because he's got knocked into the stupid Snorlax pit because they got whacked in the back. So it's that would make sense that it's it's not this mythical like
dress for the job you have.
Yeah.
Or want.
I think I would have enjoyed that Boba Fett way more than the Boba
first
Fett
episode could have been him as Boba Fett with the mask on. In the final scene, he takes it off and it's him. And we realize, like Thunderbolts or something, you realize that he's not really who he's supposed to be.
How cool would that be?
It's characters. Mitch is the characters.
Someone would have to know it's not actually.
It really is the characters. And Boba Fett, man, Boba Fett's my character. That's my guy. That's my draw to Star Wars. And so I was upset with the series, but Boba Fett, in the last few episodes of The Mandalorian he was in, was way more interesting than the entire Boba Fett series,
1000%.
which is crazy. And then the series itself, you could have had any kind of series going on there, but it didn't all have to take place on Tatooine.
Yeah.
You needed nobody believes, no Star Wars fans believe that any of the other Hutts, all of the other Hutt clan, the whole entire Hutt empire, would never have allowed Boba Fett, of all people, to take over that castle and take his claim to the whole. That was all nonsense. And it should
I didn't like the turn to being a good guy.
That's just ridiculous. Boba Fett's guest appearance or his cameo in the second Jedi Fallen Order game was better than the entire series. It's crazy to think that there's better cameos and writers out there working with Boba Fett than the actual show. That's It's wild.
I showed Pat I shared a TikTok yesterday. Someone made a Top Gun. It was the Top Gun theme, but he was a TIE fighter pilot.
But
and
it's
it was
anime.
And it was like top notch. I'm like, oh, I could watch this whole thing.
Absolutely.
If this was an episode of a show, I would watch the whole thing. It was great. But yeah, so I don't know what happened with Book of Boba Fett.
All right, before we get out of here, real quick, what do you guys think they should do moving forward? Well, if you could pitch something in a room, what would you pitch?
I have to wait to see how the Skeleton Crew ends for me to say I need a season 2. I really love the characters. I would like to see it.
It seems like they're going to land the plane.
But the story, like, how much of this, more of this, like, are they going to get back on a ship and shot out into space again?
Do you know what the rumored like connection to Skeleton Crew is to like original like Star Wars stuff?
Talk to us.
So
I want it.
Are any of you fans? Like, do any of you know what like Captain EO is?
Yeah. No, the Disney thing.
The Disney.
Yeah,
it was a show, I think, in Disney World
Michael
years
Jackson.
ago. Yeah. So this is back when Michael Jackson was trying to buy Star Wars from Lucas. The idea is that the main kid, Win, is it?
Yeah.
This is going to be like eventually the origin story of Captain EO. He will become Captain EO.
That would be fun.
Will evolve into that, and then that version would become canon, and then it would continue on however long, which I think would be fun for Skeleton Crew to become that. But
we would nod to that. My daughter wouldn't get the reference, but we would nod.
So
that's pretty good.
So would it be Skeleton Crew like they're just older now?
Yeah. Like this would be.
Yeah. This is their kids' version.
This is their origin story, and then much later on in life, he becomes Captain EO, and then they're pirates in space and in Star Wars space, and that's fantastic.
All right, as long as Neil is in it, I'm cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Give me Clone Wars was a bridge between the original trilogy and or in between two of the movies in the trilogy. It ran for a bunch of seasons. I did like it. It started slow. It picked up. I love it. Give me an animated series set right after Return of the Jedi when they're all still friends and doing stuff together. Give me Luke, Han, Chewie, all of them. Give me an animated series. Give me that little timeline between way before they fall apart from each other, right after where they're getting rid of the rest of the Empire. Give me that as an animated series. It's kind of what you should have done. You didn't do it.
You want
print
the
money
Zahn
with that
book.
series. Yeah. Well, give me a different version of it. But yes, give me that. It will print you money. And it would be perfect. Just give me that. If you're going to do something on the side, give me Star Wars, whatever you want to call it.
So you need Star Wars after they blow up the Death Star, celebrate,
literally
chill with those Ewoks, and then before The Force Awakens.
Right. I want the stuff where they have to get rid of the rest of the Empire that's still lurking around because not everyone died. Right?
Yeah.
There's other Empire out there, and maybe there's other problems.
That's almost like when Mandalorian is going on, because Mandalorian takes place before the First Order.
Right. Give
It's
me
still remnants.
what they're doing.
All right.
We're not going to CGI all of them, right? And then I'm going to come back.
Animated.
Series. I'll do it. I'll watch it. I'm in. Anybody else got an idea?
Hold on. I'm just going to jump into this animated series, Mitch, before you go. I just watched the Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohan, and the animation style they picked was strict anime, was like perfect. Chef's kiss to the animation style. And they really did a good job of catching a lot of Miyazaki type of anime like notes. It was great. If they did a Star Wars in that anime style, that would be hands down, Mr. Richardson. You would love it.
What I would like to see is a more fleshed out story for the Inferno Squad. Battlefront 2. Did anybody play the campaign or know about it?
Yes.
Campaign mode, never.
Yeah, I played it.
I think Operation Cinder should be totally explored in like a full on series, and that squad with I think the dynamic with her she wants to be the best she can be because her dad is a general and whatever for the Empire, and she grew up. That's something I don't think we see a lot of either. Is like there are children who grow kind of like what would happen to
Finn, but it's not the girl,
No,
the
girl,
protagonist.
Yeah. The protagonist.
Yeah, the protagonist.
We all forgot her name. It's fine.
Yeah, starts with a J.
Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso. Yeah,
yeah. Like what her upbringing would have been if if they all went back to the Empire and she was raised, in the Empire. So I think Iden Versio's upbringing and her missions and Inferno Squad, and then seeing Operation Cinder and then what happens afterward in more than just like cutscenes through gameplay, I think would be an awesome series to explore.
All right, I'm just saying.
I gotta get mine off because it's exactly what Richardson said wouldn't work. I want 50 years in the future.
No, you want bureaucracy. That's all you want. You want Senate bureaucracy. You want.
Oh my God! You're
all
such
of
a
it. I
social
can't even
studies
think of
teacher.
a show. What would be a
Such
show
a
on
social
TV?
studies
So,
teacher.
hang on. Wait. Hang on.
C-SPAN. That's what you want. Star Wars C-SPAN of the Galactic Senate.
You know what? That's not terrible. But anyway, no. So here's what I want, because the one thing that I think the new trilogy did kind of do well is it was kind of saying how it's not just Jedi and Sith. And so what I think is you move to the future and you kind of break it off into kind of separate sects. So you almost want to treat it like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where you've got multiple different groups that have different kind of specialties or whatever, and then they get their political kind of strife, and that's where that kind of drama comes from. But it's just, I'm tired. Like, how often are we going to just admit that the Jedi are just wrong? And so
Go ahead.
Well, you have to realize, like, going back to how George Lucas created the idea of this, like, concept, like what it wasn't, he didn't envision us how many years in the future yapping about it. He was like, I'm just going to make this movie. And then it was like, oh, wow, people really liked it. And they're like, hey, George, we want you to make another one. He's like, really? They're like, yeah. It's like, all right.
Yeah, and so you look at you can also do as technology advances, is that going to make being a Jedi that much of an advantage anymore? And so you're going to have Force users, finding their new role in life. Because I don't know, I've been big on Avatar: The Last Airbender recently, and it's that bender versus non-bender.
Yeah, that was Korra explored that.
But same universe. But yeah, as technology increases, the bending ability isn't the great thing that it always appeared to be, and so you're going to get a world where people don't necessarily look at Force users the same. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this obviously has been fleshed out in 35 seconds, so I'm sure Mr. Richardson's going to hate it. But
yeah, I am. I'm about to. When you're done. Watch me.
But I look, and so what I'm saying is, when Star Wars is at its best, it's giving us a genre that we've seen before in Star Wars, and so just steal from Avatar, steal from Korra, and make it Star Wars. Done.
Yeah, no. It's ready. You cancel after one season, and here's why. People don't want that. People want the hits. People want the hits. McDonald, we got the face fact. Absolutely, wait, because when you did Acolyte and you did Acolyte different, people lost their mind.
Are in Skeleton Crew.
They want, if you're jumping to the future.
What hits are in Skeleton Crew?
You're talking about Jedi in the future. There's no Jedi in the Skeleton Crew. That's not the thing. You go to the future and you have Jedi. The Jedi are good guys. The Sith are bad guys. That's the bottom line. If you deviate from that at all, no one's watching, because people don't want different things.
Where's
people
the gray?
Are on their phones every 5 minutes. There's no gray. You can't do gray.
There is gray.
Where in the universe, people, they don't want gray. Come on, man. Every time they've tried something different.
Me? Who doesn't love an anti-hero? So someone whose grandfather and father was Sith, and then
in the Star
they
Wars
are
universe,
like, I don't know,
they're very tight with this stuff. This is the only universe we play in where people.
And so he's an anti-hero. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, you don't have to be so dogmatic with Jedi and Sith.
Yeah, you do.
And this is where you're supposed to say, that's just what the Sith would say.
McDonald, I'll say it this way. You're right. I 100% agree with you, and I would watch your show. Most people will not watch and be mad because Jedi aren't being super good and Sith aren't super evil, and it'll get canceled because most people aren't us. I'm telling you, this is how they are now. I know what I would like. I like what you said. I'm in. All different versions make sense. People going to be mad and not watch it and get
I can tell you why it's not going to
and
work.
this
too.
universe is where it happens. You could do this in Avatar. You could do this in Marvel, DC. You can mess around. Star Wars, they have very strict rules, the fans. And if you deviate too much, they shut that stuff down. No exceptions.
The Acolyte explored witch magic. That what got shut down. And then Skeleton Crew, though, Jude Law's character, he's force sensitive in using it. He's not a Jedi, but he's force sensitive, and he's got it. So it's there. I don't necessarily like your story.
I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want any more Skywalkers.
Oh, I want
Skywalker to be cloned. I want that animated series.
Yeah,
I'm saying like any
we
new
got 3
Skywalkers.
Movies. We only got 3 movies. We got 3 movies. I want to see Luke. I didn't get enough Luke. I want to see Luke run around. That's just me. But it's
Luke is boring.
I'll take this animated series.
Right.
I'll watch it. I think it'll be great.
I'll watch the animated series.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Fine. I'll take an animated series.
We never got to see Luke in full Jedi mode. All right, we got it right out of here.
In God
Mitch, did you have fun?
All right.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure being here.
Watching us bicker and argue. Hopefully we can cross over with you one day. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, for sure.
Mitch, one more time, tell our fans about your podcast and where they can find you, your social medias, the whole thing.
Sure. So the Heroic Headspace Podcast can be found on really any listening platform. The one that you choose is the one that you like best. So that's where it'll be. Instagram is probably the best place to find us, is at Heroic Headspace Pod. We post content pretty much daily. And then life's been life, so we haven't had an episode in a few months, but we're back on track. We'll have episodes out twice a month, starting in January, starting this month. So come over and jump in the discussion and have some fun, and hope to see you there.
We're going to check you out, definitely. All right, the school bus is rolling up. We got to get out of here. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson in pop culture nonsense. I love bickering, love arguing. It's good to see you guys again. It's good to not agree with anything you say. It's just wonderful.
That's what we should have called this episode, is pop culture nonsense.
That's what it is. Instagram at Fandalorians Podcast, Twitter vehicle. It's X, but I'm not going to call it that. At Fandalorians Pod. TikTok, the Fandalorians Podcast. Email, FandaloriansMailbag@gmail.com. Text us at 631-494-3632. For Mitch, for Mr. G, for Mr. McDonald, I'm Mr. Richardson. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you next time. And